Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. It is Becky Brown, and I am with Dr. Jill Hubbard and JJ West. Hello, you guys.
Hello, guys.
Hey. Good to be with you.
I'm so glad that you're here. Friday is a good day of the week, although every day is a good day, but somehow we just celebrate Friday in a big way. We're going to be taking your calls, 1-800-229-3000, and we have a few on hold that we're going to go to, but I want to talk about the power of isolation. You know, we live in a very connected world, or so we think, and yet there are so many people that struggle with isolation. And, it's when we're talking about isolation, I'm talking about where people can really know who you are, that you're really seen, you're really heard, you can feel like you're in safe community. That's where group work comes in. And, we have groups in all of our workshops, and sometimes people are just like, I don't know about that group thing, but yet we hear over and over again how powerful it is. What do you think would be a first step, first of all, in recognizing that you might be isolated? And secondly, how do you step into connection? And either one of you, in all your wisdom, can
I just say that I think we live in the illusion of a very connected world, Becky.
There you go.
I think with all that our advancements, we've become more and more disconnected. And so we think we're connected to people, but people spend so much time just even scrolling on their phones, looking for the dopamine hits, getting little snippets of feeling somewhat connected, but it's not really the true, like you're talking about being known, really being intimate with another human. And it's to the point where people don't even know how to be face to face. So it's easy then for people to slip into feeling isolated and alone.
Yes. And so what would be step one into getting connected?
Spend time with others.
Face to face.
Well, there you go.
Leave your house.
Leave the house, get off, put the phone away and go and do an activity with someone. That doesn't have to be a physical activity, but go and be with another person in a meaningful way where you're sharing your life and they're sharing theirs.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and if
powerful.
That's terrifying to you, then isolation is probably an issue.
There you go. You might be isolated if every time you go to the grocery store, you're irritated with every person that's around you. I had a client years ago that was of that thought process that he just liked to be by himself. He didn't really enjoy the company of other people, although he was married, which could be a problem in that marriage. And one of the homework assignments that I had for him was when you go to the store, greet the cashier with your eyes, say hello, how are you, and check out. And he said that was the most amazing. He said, I was scared to death to do it, but it really changed his approach to just being out in the world. And isolation is a deadly, deadly problem. And especially as people get more and more, they're able to do life remotely. What we need really close connection. I know you hear the music, but JJ or Jill, whatever.
It's so funny, Becky, because I give that same assignment to people. And also you're at Starbucks or wherever you're at, like smile at another person, make eye contact, even if briefly.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing what human connection can do for others. And, as believers, how can we reach a lost world if we're not even willing to smile at them or greet them, say hello, see, the image of God in them, is real. It is part of our journey on this earth. And it can be such a blessing. You never know what somebody's dealing with. Be kind, greet with a kiss. Well, maybe not a kiss to everybody, but we'll be back after this.
We have been estranged off and on for 10 years or more, and he has a lot of grievances and anger and bitterness and hatred toward me.
Our daughter is the problem. She said, I don't want to be in your life right now.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Courageous Parents, Transforming Relationships with Your Adult Sons and Daughters. It's an online workshop with Dr. Jim Burns, Dr. Jill Hubbard, and me. I think it will change the way you see your adult children.
I was never prepared for doing life with my adult children. Some of our kids bumped and violated values that we never dreamed they would, and there's some principles that we can talk about.
With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day online workshop, Saturday, April 1st, will provide practical advice and hopeful encouragement for navigating the parent-adult-child relationship. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We have some special shows that are coming up next week. Monday, we're going to have a special show with author and speaker Lisa Turkhurst. She has a new book that came out, and I think you'll enjoy that. As well as on Tuesday and Wednesday, Dr. Henry Cloud is coming back to take calls for 2 hours each of those days, and he's going to talk about his new book, Trust. And I know for those of you who've been listening for a long time, you will be just, ready and raring to call up Henry and Steve and just, ask them all the questions. So right now we are going to go to our callers, and we're going to talk to Sandy, who's calling us from Hershey, Pennsylvania. She listens on the podcast. You can too. You can download it anywhere you get your podcast and listen at any time. We're glad you called, Sandy. How can we help you today?
Thank you for taking my call. I have been diagnosed with hypnic headaches for the last about 18 years. They're getting worse. They're at least nightly, sometimes 2 or 3. I'm trying to get help dealing with the emotional feeling when you don't get much sleep and it's interrupted. And the pain of the headache sometimes is a 10 plus, like I've already hit the wall with my hands and just, I'm praying for endurance and just feeling defeated. I've tried, I think, almost everything there is to cut down the frequency or the intensity. So I'm just looking for help for enduring them and the emotional turmoil I'm ongoing.
That is so hard, Sandy. Jill, I think we were on a show last week. We were talking about how physical pain impacts us emotionally. And Sandy, my first question before I turn it to Jill and JJ, have you done any therapy, like counseling or any kind of work emotionally in this process of finding help?
I have, and it's really almost so, well, you have a chronic disease, you have to learn, to live with it. It's just the tired feelings. It's just getting a lot heavier at this point in time.
Yeah, it's so true. One of the things that we talked about last week, Jill, when we were talking about how trauma impacts the body, and so JJ or Jill, whoever wants to start to help Sandy, let's do something for her.
So, Sandy, I'm so sorry because it is so difficult. I think it's important to do everything you can, and it sounds like you are, for the physical help, right? And it sounds like you're continuing to do that. And they're always coming up with new things and making advances. And so even if you've not done something new in a while, to keep asking those questions. I think to work with a chronic pain specialist is also really important. And through those doctors, I'm wondering if they offer groups or emotional support of people that are specifically clued in to the chronic pain issues. So that would be maybe a starting place. You can't necessarily stop the pain from happening, but looking at the other areas of your life that get neglected as a result of the pain and talking through those things, I think could be really important. We alleviate a lot of our stress by talking and by being heard. And it may be that you need somebody where you can tell them how bad it is for you. Because in most relationships, they don't want to hear ongoing physical complaints. That's not a way to really build up or further relationships. So you need a place where you can let down and you can vent about it and you can talk about it. That helps. And so it's not a cure-all, but it's simultaneously like having these parallel processes. So I think you're really onto something when you say you want to deal emotionally. And the pain is a limitation. So many of us have a really hard time with limitations. What does my life look like now? How unfair it all is. If only I could feel better. Those may not be options. So what can you do? And emotionally grieving all that was lost, I think, can be of help.
Yeah, I love that. JJ, what would you offer to Sandy in this healing process?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would just agree with the two of you that, it's just so hard. I can't imagine the difficulty because I've not ever had to face this level of chronic pain. I mean, the worst I've ever gone through is a pinched nerve in my neck and a torn rotator cuff. I mean, it's, nothing by comparison. So I don't understand what it feels like to deal with this level of chronic pain from an experiential standpoint. But to recognize that, yes, I do need to work on the emotional piece. I need to work on the questions that I have. God, why is this happening to me? Why can't I find healing? To be in group work, like Jill said, is so vital because there's going to be other people. I'm not alone in this. There's other people who understand the level of pain that I deal with, the losses that I've suffered because of the level of pain. That's important for me to be in a setting where I'm not alone in this. There are other people who understand, who get me, who can commiserate with me, who can comfort me in my hurt. That's going to be vital. I would, if you haven't already come across any of Joni Eareckson Tada's writing, I would encourage you to look into her writing. Talk about someone who has suffered greatly. I would encourage you maybe to pick up some of her books.
I mentioned, I think last week, there's also a gal, Catherine Wolfe, and her book Suffering Strong. And she had a stroke early on and has had multiple surgeries. And she has a whole ministry called Hope Heals. And it's how do we suffer strong? How do we carry on in the midst of our suffering?
Right. Well, and unfortunately, Sandy, we don't carry those books, but we're going to send you a copy of the devotional 100 Days of Healing. But, Sandy, one other thing is we know that trauma is carried in the body, and I don't know what your history is. And what we do know as therapists, everything the neuroscience tells us.
Sorry, Becky.
Go ahead,
what did
Sandy.
you say, Sandy?
I had 4 assaults to the head when I was working, and the headache started.
Wow.
But I realized might have started anyhow. You can't.
Right. But
even,
that's a trauma, those assaults.
And even to the point of the head injury, we talked to Dr. Daniel Amen, who talks about, that does impact you. But I was going to say, you can do also in counseling, you can get a trauma specialist who will do everything from eye movement desensitization and reprocessing to, just understanding how the body is dealing with that pain. That's what's keeping you up at night. And then when you don't get good sleep, that affects the way that you deal with the day to day. And I know, Sandy, that it is a difficult road ahead, but I want to support you in that. And, if you hold on, we've got therapists in that area that we'll see if we can find somebody who specializes in trauma that may be a good next step for you. But we're so glad you called, and we'll be praying for you.
Can I add one final piece?
You sure can.
Sandy, one thing I would just say is give yourself grace because you're in this chronic level of pain, because it's affected so many areas of your life. Give yourself grace that there may be things that you simply cannot do or can't do at the level that you used to, and to not hold yourself to some impossible standard, but to recognize, okay, if I can give 80% output here, that's a victory for me, and not feel like because I didn't get that last 20%, I failed.
Well,
Right,
and,
right.
and just like people with ongoing chronic depression, there are good days and there are bad days. And the bad
Yes.
days, sometimes it's just surviving them and then capitalizing on the good days.
Yes, yes. I'm so glad that you guys added that. It's so meaningful for Sandy to hear that. We are going to go to our next caller who is calling us from Boston, Massachusetts. Marcia is calling us and watches us on YouTube. Love our YouTube family. I'm glad you're calling, Marcia. How can we help you today?
Hi, you hear me?
Yes, we can. How can we help you?
Okay. So I have a question. First of all, I want to thank you for the awesome job that you're all doing. I watched you. I first discovered you on WEZE, and then I found you on YouTube. So I kind of watch you like every day, every opportunity I get, because I'm learning a lot, and I just need to get the courage now to become a giver to your program.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we'll be happy for that
We
too.
would be
Marcia.
happy to encourage you in
That's
that
it.
way.
How can we help you today? How can we help you
So
today?
my question is this. I have an adult son, my only child, and I'm trying not to cry. I haven't cried over this in a while, but whenever I talk about it, it just brings me such great sadness. So my only son in 2017, he, I'm going to say come out because he didn't really say it to me. It was just on, social media that he's gay.
Okay.
I struggled with it because I'm a Christian, and I found a wonderful Christian therapist, and I want to say it was through your program, or it could have been another program on the radio that I was listening to, and I found this wonderful Christian therapist who helped me to kind of put things in perspective when it came to my son.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things she said that helped me was that if my son was the only person on earth, that Jesus would have died for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And that kind of helped me to look beyond his lifestyle and just started to accept my son again.
Mm-hmm.
But I just have a hard time. We have a relationship, we talk. Our relationship is very surface, though. We don't talk about, one of the loss, because he's my only child. So, me being a grandmother.
Mm.
And, just to the loss, the aspiration that I know he had. He went to university, he got his master's in divinity, and it's just so hard.
It is
I
hard.
I want to know, my question is, he lives he doesn't live with me, he lives out of state, and he bought a home, and it's been going on a couple of years now, before pandemic, then pandemic came, and he's been inviting me to come, and I've been like, yeah, I'm going to come, but I haven't gone, and I don't know. I haven't said to myself why I have not gone to visit my son, but deep down, I just feel like I still haven't accepted this lifestyle. So I just want to know how to move forward with him, loving him as a Christian mother, and just loving him without any reservation.
That's a great question, Marcia. And we hear your pain, and we know that it can be challenging. JJ, let's start with you. How would you help Marcia move forward in this relationship?
Is it Marcia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Marcia, for you, what does you going to visit him, and it sounds like his family, I thought you said you were a grandmother, so maybe he has a family there as well. What does you visiting?
No, it's the loss.
I said it's the loss of not.
The loss of being a grandparent.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. What does you going to visit him represent to you?
I guess I don't know how. I don't know. I guess it would just mean that I just want to see him. I don't know. I don't know what it would represent. I don't know how to answer that question.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking it is, it sounds like it means more than just going to visit him. If it were just going to visit him because you love him, he's your son, you want to see him, then it sounds like you would have already done it, but you keep putting it off, saying that there's something, it has something to do with his lifestyle, and I'm trying to understand what that is.
That's a good question.
I have seen him. We have spent time together, Christmas, Thanksgiving. We gather at other families. He would come up from where he lived, and we would meet in New York, and we'd have a good time. But I haven't been in a space with him alone for a very long time.
Well, Marcia, you can hear the music. We're going to go back to you after the break. Relationships are tricky. Doesn't really matter what the details are, but they are tricky, and we want to help you find a way to connect with your son in a way that is meaningful and helpful. And we're going to continue to take calls, and we'll be right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Marcia, whose adult son is gay, and just the challenges of trying to stay connected to him. JJ, you were in the middle of asking her a question, and let's just start with you, and we'll get going forward.
Yes, because there is something different. You said you've met him at other family gatherings and other capacities, but you haven't been one-on-one with him, and you haven't gone to visit him at his home. So there's something about that in your mind that is different. It's not just another time to be with him. There's something unique about visiting him, just the two of you in his home. So what is it that's unique about that?
So I think the uniqueness would be that now we are together in that intimate space, that questions are going to come up. We are going to, talk about his lifestyle, and I don't know.
So
I don't know how to navigate that.
Right.
I think that's what's preventing me from going. I know once I get there, we are going to be together. It's just going to be him and I, and I'm going to have to confront that.
Right. I think you're afraid. Mm-hmm. That you're afraid And I don't know, you found out on social media, I don't know if you've ever even acknowledged to him that you know. And when you
it's not that he put it, he was a Christian, and then he started going, posting things that were contrary to his belief. So then we did have a conversation about it. I shouldn't say we never had a conversation.
Okay.
And I wrote him a letter saying that I have got, because I am a single parent. So I grew up in a culture that was very homophobic. We're from Jamaica.
Okay.
So with all of that, and, I wrote a letter to him saying that, I will travel with him on every journey, but this is one journey that I cannot take with him. And it really, really hurt him. So we weren't speaking for a while. He wasn't talking to me. But then, as I said, I went with this Christian therapist, and she helped me. She gave me the verbiage and all of that. So I reached out. I continued reaching out until we started to talk again. And we did have a brief conversation about it, and we talk about our hurts, our loss, and we cried together. But I still feel like, I am praying and I'm asking God, and I feel like I guess I just wanted him to change. I guess that's what I'm looking for and hoping for.
Well, and we can't always get that from our relationships, and that's where the challenge is, Marcia. It's how do you accept him so that you can be in relationship with him? Jill, what would be a step that she could take?
Well, it's the continuing to pray for healing and for the miracle that you're wanting. Tell God the desires of your heart, Marcia, while at the same time living in the reality of what is. And this is your son, and your son has gone outside of your value system. And so we still have to navigate. He's an adult. He gets to make his own choices. And that's really, really hard. And so how can you agree to disagree and acknowledge that you both see it differently, but that in spite of that, there's still love and you still want connection? So I think for you, perhaps getting some more help, and we've, as of late, been recommending a lot some of the work by Preston Sprinkles, because he writes on this in a very grounded but loving way of how to deal with this community. And I think the church and Christians have needed that, of how do we approach it. And I think it's okay to tell your son, I love you, I don't know how to navigate this, or I'm sorry that I haven't known how and that I had to push it away. That it's not about pushing him away, it's about pushing away what you don't understand and what feels so out of the realm of your values.
Right. And, the other part, we talk about this at our Courageous Parents workshop as well. When our adult sons or daughters take different values, no matter what the topic is, if we want to stay connected to them, we have to become more, we have to become curious about life and not be a one topic connection. So if the only connection you have with him is about the disengagement because of his choices or his lifestyle, you're not going to have a relationship after long. And it's hard. Right. It's hard. And it's not just this topic. There's so many that we hear about. And, I hope, Marcia, that it may be helpful to go back with the counselor and just kind of get a step-by-step, okay, how do I re-engage? How do we have a healthy relationship and move forward? We're going to send you a copy of Dr. Jim Burns' Doing Life with Your Adult Children. Keeping the welcome mat out and your mouth shut, I think. JJ, did you have anything else that you wanted to offer Marcia before we move on?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. It's hard, but I want to encourage you. You're right. Jesus loves him. And, and I love that direction.
We always want to lean into relationship whenever possible. And so I would encourage you, Marcia, to push yourself to go visit your son. Push yourself to be uncomfortable. And again, you can admit your discomfort, but that your love for him overrides that.
That's right. I love that. That is, and you want to have that influence and the love. All of us need love. And we just had a caller on another show that wanted the love from his parent. And it's just such a foundational part of our lives. We are going to go to a break. You can hear the music, and we're going to talk to caller Steve, who's calling us from Texas. Steve, hold on, and we'll get to your question right after this break. If you're interested in hearing more wisdom from JJ and Jill, they're going to be at our workshops, Courageous Parents, Every Man's Battle, and Intimacy in Marriage. We'll be right back after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is going to Washington, D.C., March 31st to April 2nd. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If it's not one thing, it's another. And we always have, we just got to deal with stuff all the time. And but we're here to help you. New Life wants to help you in any way. And so we're grateful for the opportunity. Right now, we are going to try and help Steve, who's calling us from Brady, Texas, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Steve. We're so glad you called. How can we help you today?
Well, I would just like to, can you hear me okay? I'm on my car speaker.
We sure can hear you. That's great.
Okay. There was a young lady that called a few days ago that she said she'd been married 9 years, and for the last 8 of those 9 years, her husband won't talk to her and won't communicate with her and is kind of disengaged. And then she said something about him saying that everything was always 100% her fault.
I remember it.
Yep. I remember, I was married. My wife passed away in September of 2017, and I was married. We were married for 46 and a half years.
Wow.
And for the whole time that we were married, nothing was ever her fault. Everything was always my fault. It was always me that needed to be fixed. It was always me that needed to make a correction or whatever. And I don't know, 20 or 25 years ago, my wife decided that she evidently had enough and wanted to get me some help. So she set up an appointment with a psychiatrist or for a psychologist, and we visited this psychologist several times individually. And after several individual meetings, we went together, and the psychologist asked my wife a question, which now I don't even know what the question was, but her response to the question was to immediately get mad, stand up and storm out of the room, get in her car and leave. And when decided that my wife was not coming back, the psychologist told me, she said, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. She said, the problem is your wife. She said, I get women all the time in here that want to fix their husbands. And then she went on to tell me that my wife was a narcissistic person, and it was a I guess a pretty stormy. I don't know if it was a stormy marriage, but it was a marriage where there was only love on one side. There was my love for her, but there was never any love from her for me.
Wow, Steve, and you guys were married all that time. Wow. How did you heal from that pain?
Endure?
I mean, yeah, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, I don't know, at the time, I didn't really know how I endured, but I don't believe it was me that endured. I think it was maybe the Holy Spirit within me that endured. I accepted Christ at a fairly young age, and I think maybe the Holy Spirit and Christ within me gave me the peace and gave me the wherewithal to be able to endure that. I don't really know that I would have been able to endure it if it hadn't been for Christ.
Wow. Well, and it's great. I hope that you have done some healing work after the fact. I'm so sorry for the loss of your wife, but those kind of struggles can last beyond the marriage. Do you feel like you have recovered, Steve, and if you've moved into a new chapter of your life?
I don't know that I would agree with the past tense of your question. I think maybe that's more of a present tense situation for me. It's taken, my wife passed away in September of 2017, and it's taken me 5 years to work. I don't know that I've done anything to work through the grief, but it's taken me 5 years for the grief, for the major grief to leave me. And I'm still dealing at times with emotional grief, but the grief that I now have is nowhere near as deep and nowhere near as long lasting as it was before. Whenever I get emotional now, it's a 1 or a 2 or a 3 minute deal, and then I recover and I'm back to normal.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Well,
I'm still dealing with it.
Right. And even though there were perhaps major problems with your wife and how she approached things, I would imagine that it wasn't all bad. And that's part of also the survival for 46 years. And so, and regardless, you were with her. You were used to having another person in the house with you that was your partner. And that leaves a huge void.
That's been the worst part for me, is to not have anybody else in the house.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The quiet.
Even, like the old saying goes, bad attention is better than no attention at all.
Yes.
And as dysfunctional as she was another person in the room with me, and now that she's gone, it's taken quite a bit for me to. And here I go.
Yeah, of course.
Well, there's not just the grief of losing your wife over these last 5 years. There's also the grieving of the marriage that you had longed for, that never came about. That co-partnership, that equal relationship where you're working together toward a common goal that you longed for, and probably maybe had hints of along the way over those 46 years, but it didn't come to pass, and so you're grieving that as well. So there's a lot of grieving. that has and is taking place.
It is probably a true statement.
Right.
Well,
the potential has been lost.
Yes.
There's no more living off the potential.
That may be why it's taken me 5.5 years of grief to work through, to get to this point. My two daughters have complained several times that I was grieving way too long, and that at the 3.5 year mark, my youngest daughter said, 3.5 years is enough. Get off the couch and do something.
Well, I think, Steve, it shows you have progressed because you're telling us that your moments of grief are less. They come over, hit you like a wave, and it sounds like they wash over you, and then you regroup. So there is movement, but 46 years. Wow, that's a long time. And it's at least a year for every decade that you were married.
Right. Right.
So,
and we talk about, grief doesn't always have a timeline. There are phases to grief, and there are places where we can get stuck in grief. But I don't think that it's fair to judge because we don't know, especially from the outside, we don't know. For even a daughter, she doesn't know what that's like. And but at the same time, I also understand the concern if somebody gets feeling like they're stuck. She may be afraid of what your process is. I'm going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Grief Workbook. Steve, I think it'll help you in the processing that you're doing. If you're, if you haven't talked to a counselor or even gone into a grief group, it could be very helpful. But I appreciate you calling to give the other side of that story, because we know that even in situations like what you're describing, where you feel like, you were the target for so long, it's really hard. Marriage is tough. That's why we talk about our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop, because we want to give you tools. We want to give you a way to understand those things, because that you're doing this every single day, and it can be such a great experience. But when it's difficult, it just affects all parts of your life. We're so grateful that you called, Steve, and we'll send you that book. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk with Larry Sonnenberg. And we may even take another call that is from the olden days. I don't know. Do we use that term? I don't know if that's the right way of saying it.
It's a vintage call.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, it's vintage call. We were talking about Henry joining us. And for those of you who've been listening a long time, you remember some of those calls. And I think you'll enjoy this one. If you need any help, you know where to find us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have books, we have workshops, we have counselors, we have coaches, because we want you to experience a new life. And we know that it's possible. There's always hope, and there's always a way through. And we want to be alongside to help you in that journey. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply, I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Workshop is Saturday, April 15th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jackie Mack-Harris will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or register online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I just remind you, I know some of you are listening on the podcast, some of you are listening on our app, you listen on the internet, you listen on the radio, all kinds of ways, and we're so grateful to be there. Share that news with somebody. You know, sometimes people will say, I can't listen because it's in the middle of the day. Well, guess what? You get to listen whenever you want. So I just want to encourage you that you can turn on New Life Live at any given time of the day. Right now, we're going to talk to Larry, who is in the studio in California. Larry, what news do you have for us?
Well, I love reading these testimonies, and with the Courageous Parent Workshop coming up a week from tomorrow online, no reason you can't come, folks. A single parent, couple, but come and do this. And here's what one of the attendees last time said. Steve Arterburn, he just says it like it is. No sugarcoating the circumstances, requirements for action on the part of the parent and the adult child. 11 years ago, I had to show my son to the door. I lost over 20 family relationships. No one has ever validated my actions until I heard Steve today. Now I have some work to do with my daughter. That must have been tough. I mean, there were times I thought, you know, it's time to move on, guys, or one of them anyway. And it happened, not in my timing. It was a year or two more than I thought. But to go and say, you got to get out, you got to leave, it's time. I can't imagine. But to hear Steve's validation and help her understand what she can do with the next child. So I just want to encourage you folks, come, whether it's a single child or a single parent or a couple, you can get help and you'll get some good counsel and some good advice. There was something, about giving. How could I forget giving?
Yeah.
That's usually your main topic.
Help! We could use your help, folks, with support for New Life. What we do is life-changing. God's Holy Spirit does an amazing work in all the different areas that we work in. So if you would take the first step, the first step being making a gift, you'll see God's Holy Spirit do something to you because it does something to the giver. You know, we think we're really helping folks when we give. We're helping ourselves as well. You become part of something bigger than yourself. You realize that the first step and the first place for your finances is to do things with them to help others. And that's what we're seeking.
Yeah, I love that. It will make all the difference in the world. You can call us, 800-NEW-LIFE. Thanks so much, Larry. Yep. We are going to go to the vintage call, as Jill said. Terry, you want to cue that up?
Ann, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm calling because I have a 23-year-old daughter who is dating a 26-year-old guy, and I'm concerned about the relationship because this guy never holds a steady job. And basically, he appears to be lazy. He doesn't share her faith. He's a smoker. He just has a lot of bad habits and always some health issues. And I don't think he's honest.
Okay. What's your question for us?
My question is basically, what can I do to help her see the situation for what it really is?
What have you done?
Well, we go on walks, and I kind of like talk to her and ask her, how things are going, and if her, boyfriend has a job yet. They've been in this relationship.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, how's your day? Got a job yet? Got a job yet? How old is she?
She's 23.
Oh, that's too late. You can't help her. It's too late. No, I'm kidding there. Well, I'm glad that you're able to go on a walk with her. I mean, that right there is big, I think.
But Ann, does she see any of this stuff?
She sees it.
What does she say?
she just ignores it and just, I don't know what she says. She basically says he's going to get a job. In 3 years, you don't have any secure employment, and she works full time.
In 3 years? What is it, 3 years? What is 3 years?
Well, they've been going out for 3 years.
Oh, they've been together for 3 years?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, and she pays for everything?
No, I don't know how they pay for anything. She tells me she doesn't, but I've actually confronted her and said I don't believe her because it just doesn't add up.
And none of this bothers her?
Yes, I believe that it does, but
And why are you kind of walking on eggshells around your daughter?
I have no idea. I guess because I really think I don't know. I guess because I figure she's an adult. She's been raised.
Yeah, but adults need direct friends who love them and say, I am so concerned your life's going to go over a cliff. Who better than your mother when you're an adult and you have freedom from her to say, as somebody who loves you, I see a lot of red lights and orange lights with this guy. Here's what they are. And there's 5 or 6, and I want you to be aware of this. Is that not doable?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right.
I've done that, but there's no change in behavior. And I guess since she lives at home, I'm like, well, what do I say? It's time for you to get your own place so that you can feel the economic responsibility so that you're not going to carry this individual.
That's kind of a reaction. I think that's a little much.
Oh, okay.
I think telling her to move out is a little much.
Okay.
I think she needs to have a plan to move out. You know, all kids at that age need to have a plan. But to say till you get your act together with this guy, I think I would just say, look, what's your move out plan? Let's make sure that's in place. And here's my concerns. And the other part is that if this guy is the bad guy that it sounds like he is, if you're right about this, then bad things will happen. You know, if he's not honest and if he's lazy, then she'll begin to suffer more. And you just kind of keep the bridge open and say, I want to help you, but are you aware that now you're crying because he won't do this? Are you aware that now you're working more? And help her see the reality of this.
Right.
As you shepherd her over time through this.
You might want to write her a letter just to kind of shift your approach. You might say, I've kind of had a hard time doing this the right way on our walks and stuff. So here's my best shot at what I've been thinking. What do you think, Henry?
Okay.
Well, what John said is kind of reactive and punitive to do the moving out thing, like as sort of a punishment about her relationship with him. Yeah, you don't want to do that. But the 23-year-old existing in a childlike state, being supported by parents and all of that, can also keep her stuck.
That's true.
In a teenage state where she goes for the bad boy as a way to separate from the parents and the values and all of that. So I would really be concerned about the longer term plan of her getting onto adulthood, and she'll feel the heat.
Well, see, that's how Henry does it, right? He lands the plane. And I tell you, I just love that wisdom. And, isn't it interesting that even though that's a vintage call, we're still having those conversations. Henry will be with us next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, so you can hear more of that. But any closing thoughts before we end this show today, Jill or JJ, just to encourage people in this journey of life?
Well, we
have 2 closing. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you go ahead, JJ. I'll let the new guy go.
Thank you. So 2 closing thoughts. The first is that I hope Marcia attends the Courageous Parenting Workshop. I think that would be so helpful for her in helping her understand how can she better relate to her son, her adult son. I really hope that happens. Number 2 closing thought is I've jotted down the dates when Dr. Plata is going to be on so I can call in.
There you go.
Yeah, JJ, call in.
Well,
but give him a hard time, not me.
Thank you, Jill. And we're so grateful for all who are listening. And, we do want to hear from you. Give us a call, either 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or if you want to call the show, 1-800-229-3000. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.